Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am really excited you're here today because we are about to unpack something pretty provocative and deeply philosophical. Today we're diving into the August 2023 writings of Shui Feng, specifically a piece called The Gateway to the Elysium World. We're going to be taking some incredibly abstract ideas and breaking them down using a surprisingly grounded, visceral framework that the author lays out. So get comfortable, focus in, and let's get ready to wrestle with some profound concepts.
Just pause for a second and really think about this. What if you could entirely escape the fog of everyday life? You know, all those mundane stresses, the endless loops of worry, the heavy expectations we all carry around. It's a pretty tantalizing promise, isn't it? Well, this is exactly the premise Shui Feng uses to introduce us to what the text calls the Elysium world. It is presented as this ultimate utopian state of being.
All right, let's dive right into this. Section 1. Welcome to Elysium, a realm beyond sorrow.
So to really wrap our heads around this destination, we need to look at the contrast. Picture a state of being completely stripped of all the heavy stuff. No sorrow, no anxiety, absolutely zero confusion, worry, or fear. They're just gone. In their place exists only joy, pleasure, contentment, comfort, and notably, sexual arousal. The text describes this pristine realm of pure, unadulterated positive sensation, and even notes that a place called the Celestial Islands continent is a part of this Elysium world. Sounds wild, right? But the big question is, how do you actually get there?
That brings us to Section 2, the Gateway of Emptiness, the Path to Elysium.
You see, the author argues you don't just stumble into this utopia by accident. You have to pass through a very specific, non-physical gateway. And this gateway is known as emptiness. According to the text, emptiness is a state of total formlessness and selflessness. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, that sounds incredibly vague, you are definitely not alone. Even Shui Feng readily acknowledges that this is a super abstract concept. It's notoriously difficult to explain using just words because it's something that fundamentally must be experienced and felt. But how on earth do you teach something that can't easily be put into words?
Well, let's look at Section 3, the ultimate metaphor, grounding the abstract.
Now, what's really fascinating about this is how Shui Feng takes this lofty spiritual idea and grounds it in a shockingly concrete, universal human experience. To help us actually feel what emptiness is, the text provides a series of descriptions. The first one starts like this. It feels like a kind of awakening and the beginning of life. Notice the emphasis on the word life there. It is described as this profound spark, an ethereal starting point that just shatters the ordinary.
Then the text gets a little more specific. Quote, "The awakening of sexual desire gives me the opportunity to transcend myself and awaken from the fog of everyday life." So here, physical desire isn't just viewed as some base instinct. It's actually framed as a mechanism, a literal tool to transcend yourself and leave behind all that daily fog we talked about earlier.
And the descriptions continue to build from there. Quote, "The pause of life, like a moment of eternity, through indulging and tasting the sweetness of the strong fusion of body." It's a really fascinating contradiction, isn't it? A purely physical fusion that somehow triggers this internal pause, a feeling of totally leaving your physical body and spirit behind. And finally, we get this incredibly striking visual, a strange feeling, another dimension of my existence, drifting away and melting from the support point of my life. It's describing a complete, total shift into an entirely different dimension of existing. Now, hearing these quotes, you might be wondering exactly what specific human state the author is pulling all these feelings from. Well, these experiences and feelings are actually describing moments of sexual climax. Yeah, that is the ultimate metaphor here. Shui Feng takes this universally understood, deeply visceral biological peak experience and maps it perfectly onto the spiritual state of emptiness. The author is literally taking a physical peak and equating it directly to a spiritual gateway. And honestly, it brilliantly illustrates exactly what emptiness entails. Because during that peak physical experience, you are without self, without the body, without the spirit. Life is simply frozen in wonderful experiences and feelings. Ultimately, the text argues, another self is born. Achieving this profound detachment from the physical world, ironically through an intense physical act, is the very definition of emptiness according to these writings.
Which brings us to Section 4, Losing to Find Yourself, the Paradox of Self-Loss.
Let's really connect this biological reaction back to that profound spiritual gateway. Shui Feng asks a couple of very direct rhetorical questions to drive this point home to the reader. Like,
Did you not completely forget or ignore the troubles, sorrows, and pains of your daily life? Think about it. When you are in that state of extreme wonder and pleasure, all the anxiety, all the confusion, all the stuff that keeps us out of Elysium, it just vanishes, doesn't it?
But then comes the really crucial question. Did you not completely disregard your own existence? Just let the weight of that sink in. In that boundless peak state, you aren't just temporarily forgetting your to-do list. You are actually losing yourself. You are entirely disregarding your own separate existence in that moment.
And this is the core synthesis of the whole source material. The state of emptiness is inherently a state of self-loss and consequently a state of complete peace of mind. What the author is suggesting is that through this brief biological moment, we as humans actually already possess an intuitive understanding of how to achieve emptiness. It is not some impossible alien concept. It's something we literally already know how to feel.
Let's see how this builds into the author's ultimate philosophical conclusion. Only by losing oneself can one find oneself. It's a massive paradox. The text states that emptiness is formlessness and selflessness, but argues that only when you reach this state will you truly understand that selflessness is the true self. This actually references another one of Xu concepts, which basically says that one cannot attain Buddhahood with self. The ego, yourself, is literally the barrier.
So, to wrap up this journey we've been on today, it all comes down to this singular conclusion. The method and the gateway are emptiness, formlessness, and selflessness. And that leads directly to the destination, the Elysium world. Emptiness isn't just some lofty, passive idea you read about. According to Xu, it is a highly practical method. In fact, it is the absolute required mandatory gateway to entering Elysium.
I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to ponder today. If the true self is found only in selflessness, what parts of your self are keeping you from Elysium right now? Like, what are you holding on to that's preventing that state of emptiness? It's a deeply memorable, kind of mind-bending philosophical paradox to wrestle with. Thank you so much to all our focus learners for joining me today to break this down. Keep analyzing, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.